too long since we had when we have Phil Bennett on the show, everybody loves it. And hey, by the way, I just got off the phone with a great friend of yours, Steve Stevenson. He called me today, and he's watching you right now. So a lot of pressure. I know you guys are running buddies.
Hey, he's heard it all
got the mute
before.
button. Okay, there. What's that?
I said he's heard it all before.
He was with Alvin. They were going to Canton to pick up a truck or something like that, and so he said hi, and glad that he called me earlier today.
He's one of my best friends. He's a great guy.
All right, I had somebody ask me this question. We've discussed that you played at A&M, and all the recruiting stories you've had as a head or assistant coach throughout your career. What was your recruitment when it came to Texas A&M, and who were the other options or whatever you had involved?
It's funny you asked me that because I did a podcast in Philadelphia last week, and the guy was sort of going over the history of teams in the 70s that were underlooked, and our team was one of them. When I came out, Smokey, I thought I was going to go to Arkansas. I had a great family friend, a guy named Ronnie Hammers, that was an All-American offensive guard at Arkansas. Jimmy Johnson. There was a lot of coaches that I had ties to. Frank Broyles spoke at our banquet. I ended up getting recruited by A&M, Arkansas, LSU, Texas, SMU, Texas Tech, TCU.
Man.
And it was a different day back then. You took your visits and obviously signing day, and my class was the first year of 30 scholarships. You used to have a ton of guys before I thought I was going to Arkansas. Then I went to Texas. A guy named Ken Dabbs recruited me in Texas, and he was just I tell you what, turned out to be a lifelong friend of mine. And I didn't go to Texas. I can still remember Coach Royal came to Marshall, and I met him, and he was not a happy man. And he never smiled much later on in my life when I ran into him. I think he remembered things. And then, I thought that LSU might be, living in that Arklatex. But when I went to A&M, the one thing Emory Bellard, I just felt the atmosphere. I felt the guys, they hadn't won here. And they all, when they recruited me, the players, they said, "Hey, come here. We're going to win. This is going to be a good place." And I think they told me the other day in my career, while I was here, but you didn't redshirt. I think I was 36-11, which was pretty dang good. Had a Co-Southwest championship. In 76, I think we might have had the best team in the nation at the end of the year when we played Florida in the Sun Bowl. So it was really a good decision.
By the way, Ken Dabbs, for those that don't know, Earl Campbell credited Ken Dabbs for landing him in Austin, Texas, not Darrell Royal, Fred Akers, or of course Akers was not there yet, but Ken Dabbs, a legendary recruiter for the University of Texas.
Right. Just, when I say this, and no, I didn't go there. Every time I went to Austin, I would drink beer at Schultz's with Coach Dabbs. He would call, check on me. Was just a dear friend. And you remember this in that time. Marshall, Longview, John Tyler won the state championship that year with Corky and Earl. Had a fullback named Lynn King, and of course Gary Don Johnson and Ronnie Lee, and that league was really tough. And Kilgore had two guys, Lou Sibley and Travis Couch. Longview had Mike Mock. Henderson had a running back named Joe Paul Page. East Texas was loaded that year. I had a teammate, Newt Dorsett, that went to SMU, was a really good player.
Phil, you mentioned Coach Bellard, who you played for and then coached with. He was a character. And, of course, A&M kind of had that Shelby Metcalf was, a nut, an absolute nut. And Emory Ballard had he just had he was maybe a little bit more outgoing. I don't want to say outgoing than Darrell Royal, but he had more of a fun attitude toward him, like a sense of humor. Did he have to have that because he was taking over a much more difficult job at the time?
When he took it over, the thing that he knew, and he told me this one time, we were on the road. This is after I was through playing. We were on the road recruiting. He said, I knew that A&M, when I took the job, people don't realize this. There weren't hardly many girls here. It was a cadet school, and it was growing and it was transforming. And Emory told him, he said, the only way I'll take this is you need to understand, I'm gonna recruit any kid I want, African American. We're going after the best players, and in '72 he ends up getting Bubba Bean, Skip Walker, Pat, our corner. I'm sitting there.
Pat Thomas. Pat
Yeah,
Thomas.
and Jackie Williams. I mean, really some great players, and it just starts snowballing. And like I said, when I came here, these players were sold on the fact that, hey, you know what? Come here. We haven't done it yet. They had not had a winning record, and man, it took off, and we became real.
Bubba Bean from Kirbyville, Texas. Legendary.
Hey, when you come down, he's playing golf with us. He's a golfing fool.
Is he really?
Oh, yes.
Former Tyler Junior College basketball coach Roy Thomas, I think, was from Kirbyville as well.
He was.
Yep, great guy.
Yeah.
All right, so that's about your recruitment. You've told us about the Xavier Howard recruitment because the transcript had some kind of a number or a letter on it.
Yeah, it had, we thought it meant remedial.
Yes.
And the truth was he didn't take the class on campus. It was remote.
Yep. So you have that one. We know about the Andrew Billings the day he committed, and we were the ones he did that to. Is there another favorite from all of your years in coaching? I know you must have 6 of them, but is there another one that's pretty unique?
One of the things that when I was at LSU, I recruited North Louisiana, East Texas. And you'll remember this name. You remember Josh Booty?
Oh, yeah, the quarterback. Yeah.
Well, he was at Evangel, and they were so good. And Denny Duran was the head coach, actually Dennis Dunn was. And Denny, the founder of the school, was the quarterback coach. And Johnny Booty and the family, they were wonderful. And everybody just assumed, we would be in it. But he was getting recruited by the world. I mean, the world. And he was also a pitcher and a baseball player. And I watched him that spring. I said, hell, he's not going to go to the baseball there was like, not very good baseball. And we spend all this time. And I remember, and Denny Duran was just at A&M's camp, and he reminded me of the story. They had odd hours. I mean, they were great people. And we one night we went out to breakfast at 1:00 in the morning, and Smokey Denny Duran said, Phil, you probably think we're crazy. You probably hadn't ever had breakfast at 1:00 or 2:00 in the morning like we do, all us church people. And I looked at him. I said, Denny, I've had a bunch of breakfasts at 1 or 2, but I don't remember all of them. and he always told me, he goes, we knew you were a real dude then. You were honest. But I ended up, Josh committed to me. It was a huge get. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, he gets drafted. I don't even think he was a first-round pick, but Miami, or I believe it was Miami, ends up offering him, the Marlins, more than anybody in the draft. And I think he was a 5th-round pick. They offered him well over $1 million, and he had to take it. And so it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. And I think it turned Curley's – he could have been the guy for us. And I think turned Curly Holman's tenure around at LSU.
He eventually came back, but Curly wasn't there anymore.
No, he wasn't there. He came back under DiNardo and played well.
Went to the NFL for a bit. We've interviewed him at a couple of
Josh Booty.
Yeah, we had him at a Super Bowl a couple years ago. I think it was in Atlanta.
Great kid.
Yeah,
great kid. Great. His little brother Abram was an All-American receiver at LSU during that time and was a stud. He was a very good player.
Phil, what was it like? I mean, look, it's one thing to lose a kid to another school. That's just the name of it. But when you're recruiting against $1 million back then in Major League Baseball and stuff like that, how difficult was that when you had to go into a place and then you found out, like, oh, well, turns out this kid has a 96-mile-an-hour fastball at 17 years old?
I told you, I'd watched him all that year and stuff. I said, he's a good player, but this league is so poor. I mean, he could hit with power, and he was a great athlete. But I said, I just don't see it, and I didn't think baseball was that important. And I can remember I found out they called me when he finally made his decision to accept it. They had told me they weren't going to do it. My late wife and I, my kids, we go to Destin every year. I'm down there on the beach. I'm so happy. And we didn't have cell phones then, right? And I get back to my condo right on the beach, and I have the flashing light. And it was Johnny Booty, his dad. And he told me, he said, Phil, we prayed about it and said Josh is going to go with the Marlins. And I can tell you, here I am 70 years old and I should not, but it's still, it was devastating. And I walked out your family gets so involved in it. I can remember watching my late wife just literally bawl in the sand, stuck her head in the sand because we had lost him. And that's how families get involved in this. It's a good memory and a bad memory.
Yeah, it's like being a coach's wife, the wins, the losses, the practices, the hours and stuff. And then, of course, you guys are tied into who you bring on campus to play for you.
It's crazy. And, LSU was a little bit before its time. You guys remember this, but you didn't have like shows like yours, but they did. But the internet wasn't there, but talk radio was the big deal. They had this station called Tiger Rag. Mm-hmm. And man, if Tiger Rag said it, it was the damn truth. So Tiger Rag, if somebody came out and said that, there were so many conspiracies. And the bottom line was, how do you turn, here you have a preacher that has 5 kids. How do you turn down $1 million?
No, you don't. No, you don't. It's hard to do it now, much less back when you were coaching.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, hey, I believe we could outbid some people now, though.
Yeah. No,
we could. I believe Tiger Athletic Foundation could outbid the Marlins.
How would you do having to? Again, the coaches mostly don't do it, but how would you personally do having to negotiate at least part of make somebody feel comfortable about the money they're going to get? Would you would you be able to kind of
absolutely
accept that as part of you? Okay.
Absolutely. Listen, I saw the Iowa coach who is my age. He said this, and I thought it was refreshing. He said, when I realized I still wanted to coach, he said, I got into it. I want to be involved in it. I want to, it's different. It's something different. And I would be that way. I would still pick those players. I would make the decision, hey, you're getting this, because it's your job. You have the most to lose. And I would get both feet all the way in and get involved in that.
I mentioned Kirk Ferentz, by the way. That
Yes.
comments that you would think as a stoic conservative guy. We mentioned that earlier in the week, Craig.
Yeah, no, he actually, I think if anything, is energized by it. It's something new and fun and a new challenge is kind of how I took his comments. And we've been talking a lot and throughout the offseason, I was just curious about how much you've heard about Texas Tech this offseason, just on the topic of this new era and just leading in. I mean, there's not a more talked about team in the country, Phil. What are your thoughts on just how they've gone for it, and what's kind of been the reaction that you've heard from maybe some of those in the coaching community?
Craig, I think you're absolutely right. I think without question, they are all in. And with Cody Campbell and you know, when my brother passed, I got a really nice call from Joey. Joey, you know, we've been friends with Joey. All of the Bennett brothers have been friends with Joey. And we got to talk a little bit about it. And he told me, he said, Phil, he said, it's a big year for me. We got to get better. And, you know, he made some changes. And I sort of helped him with some things defensively when he made some changes. And, you know, he told me, he said, that old saying, to those who much given, much expected. So it's going to be interesting. I think he thinks they're talented on offense. They needed to get their defense better. Got to play good early. They have a big game at BYU early in the season. So I think that, you know, they've done everything they can to try to put them in a position to be successful. Now, what I always tell people, and Smokey, me and you talked about it, the thing you better understand about the portal, and one of the things I thought we did a great job at Baylor doing, we did a great job at Kansas State, is evaluating talent. You still have to evaluate guys, and you've got to get them to play at their highest level. And you know, you get some programs that have a knack for it. Some people get, you know, one of the things the kid they got from Belton really didn't come through for him as a freshman, even though he's back now, Joey told me. So they've got to coach them, put them in the right position. And but yes, they're committed financially. They have put their money where their mouth is.
You have coached, my goodness, in some of the biggest programs ever. For example, Oklahoma, you mentioned LSU, obviously A&M, Arizona State, Pittsburgh. I mean, these are some dudes. And then your time at Baylor, TCU, among others. Do you have a piece of clothing, hat, jacket, T-shirt from every one of those schools?
I kept one or two items everywhere I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Now,
Iowa State, Purdue. I wanted to make it.
You know, Iowa State, Purdue, and I've kept one or two items everywhere. But my wife now doesn't understand. I said, you know, I don't know if you'll give it to my children but it just. I say this, David, and I told this podcast guy. I mean, I have lived 44 years of such a blessed career. I never worked for a bad person. I didn't ever have a job that I didn't want to go to. I mean, you look. I look at it. The guy told me, he said, "You work for three of the most innovative coaches in college football." And I'm thinking, yeah. I said, you know, and he's talking about Emory Bellard invented the wishbone. We all know what that did. I mean, people who copied it, you know, Oklahoma became dynamic. Alabama became dynamic when they went to it. And then Bill Snyder, quarterback run game, you know, maybe the greatest coach of doing the best job, period, than at a school that was not known for it. And then Art Briles. You know, Art was so innovative and creative that people – I can still remember Nick Saban telling me, how in the hell does he do that? How does he make it so simple that they could run that many plays that fast? And it's true. I've worked for three of the guys on offense that were they were absolutely game changers. And, you know, you throw in R.C. Slocum, Fred Akers. I mean, Jim Kreiner at Iowa State. Dave Wanstead, I have been, if I die tomorrow, I will be a blessed man for what my career gave me.
When you were, I mean, in Baylor, you guys were kind of masters of this, especially on offense. You just kind of knew that until you got established, you were going to have to, Corey Coleman wasn't walking through the door right away. You had to build up to get the Corey Colemans. So it was, what can this guy do physically? And we'll teach him how to play football the way we want him to once he gets here. Is that the key to being a super elite recruiter, is not just getting guys who everybody knows are good, but finding the guys with the skill sets that you desire to make your system work and then being able to coach them up more often than not?
I think you hit the nail on the head. But one of the things that I think that specifically Coach Snyder and Art did was Art used to tell me, he said, if he can run and he goes, and he has the ability to learn, and he will be committed to the team and will work, he said, we'll find a place for him. And I believe that. That's the things that I believe. Bill Snyder was like that. He said the only thing, he said, he can be an inch shorter, 2 inch shorter. He can be light. He can be heavy. We'll get that. We'll work with that. But number one, he's got to be a good player at his position. He's got to be a competitor. He's got to be able to run, and he's got to be able to take coaching. And I think about us at Baylor. When I first went there, we weren't very good on defense, and we found a way. And I've said this many times. I've never, and I don't feel like I have to be validated by anybody, but it took me a while with Art's offense to find the recipe that, hey, this is and we found it. And we found what we could do. I didn't worry about total yards. I worried about points per possession and yards per snap. And in 4 straight years, we were in the top 10 in all those. And that's the way you win. And we found a recipe. And Art told me, and I've said this many times, he was so honest. He said, Phil, we're not changing what we're doing. He said, he did. The only thing I told him, I said, you have to tell me you won't go for it unless we talk about it. He said, yes. And every one of them, he did. He was a man of his word, but he had a dynamic feel for the game. And we found a recipe on defense. The kids bought into it. They knew what we were trying to do. Hell, I think that in 14 or 15, we were 8-0 or something like that. And out of the 8 games, 5 of them, we had 3 and outs. The first 3 and out. And we were up either 28 or 21-0 in every game. Now, how about that?
I remember
changed the game.
Yeah, I remember when you arrived, like Brian Norwood, who stayed on the staff, but I remember if you could just get one stop a half with the way they were dynamic. And of course, we started creating turnovers and all of that.
I tell people this. A smart player, and I always go back to Cholo, Mike Hicks. He gave me something in the back end. I could talk to him and teach him. And I was a guy, I was along the Buddy Ryan. I didn't want to be guessing on calls. We were a check team by splits, by formations, and Mike was smart, and he could do that. And Eddie could do it in the front. Bryce Hager could do it. My first year, I loved him. Or we moved him from safety to linebacker. Help me.
Where'd he play high school ball? You remember?
He played at Sugar Land. He does radio for Baylor.
Elliot Coffey.
Elliot, my man E.
Yep.
Let me tell you something. He played one of the toughest kids I have ever seen in my life. Played the whole year with a bum shoulder, kept him from getting drafted, but he wouldn't quit. And I'm telling you, every game he played, we won or got close to it because he could get us in the right situation. Him and Cholo they ran the show, and we found that recipe. And I always tell this: I played in the Texas. I was down there at the Texas Hall of Fame Celebrity Golf Tournament, and Seth and I were talking to each other, and I believe this with all my heart. In 15, we would have won a national. We would have been undefeated. Had Seth and Stidham. One of them would have got through the year. It was just so unfortunate.
A couple more things. Someone wanted to know: do you have chlorine or salt water in your pool?
I have chlorine because I have the rocks that the salt will eat, and that was a good question. But the slate that I have in my pool, I'll turn it around. It is, you can tell on the deal that it will get eaten up by the salt.
Okay. A couple more things, and I know you got to go, and we did too.
Hey, I'm gonna put your ass in this hot tub when we come down there and play golf. I'm gonna cook for you too.
Well, yeah, I see that. Well, I can't wait. I really, really can't. We promised each other we're going to do it in July.
We're going to do it in July.
Yeah, we're going to do it in July. Penn State, Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, all of them in the semis, all of them loaded again despite losing some players because they're all good. Which of those four teams might struggle the most this year? If struggle is a kind of a word that I don't think any of them will struggle.
Well, I'm going to tell you one that's going to struggle. Ohio State's going to struggle. And they're going to struggle because they named, not that he's a bad coach, but he's never been in college. Matt Patricia he's going to struggle coaching college defense. They're going to go back to a guy, their wide receiver coach at offensive coordinator. If Ryan Day doesn't get involved, they're going to have an issue there. I told somebody on a national deal, I said, I'm telling you, Ohio State, Texas, well, you'll see. Sarkisian, Matt Patricia is born and bred in the NFL. He has zero college experience, and I think he'll struggle.
And he's about to face a team with a coach, a great play caller in Sarkisian to open up with.
I think he had 1 year as a GA, and then he got in the NFL.
Yeah.
And
his last 5 or 6 years in the NFL were atrocious.
Well, he's not well known as an organized person either, Phil.
Well, you can look at him.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
And I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything. I'm just and even on offense now, Brian, I forget that the wide receiver coach,
Brian Hartline. Yeah.
Hartline, they had given him the coordinator job before Kelly went there. He couldn't do it. Now they're giving it back to him. He doesn't know the front. He doesn't know the run game. If Ryan Day, now listen, Ryan Day didn't do anything on offense last year. Kelly was outstanding, and of course the guy that left went to Penn State. It's going to be, now I'm not saying they won't be good. I know they'll have good players, but schematically and how you coach them in college, you can be exposed if you don't know what you're doing.
Phil, we appreciate you. We love you, man. We do. And you and I texting back and forth, and so many people that loved your brother, Jerry. I know a ton of people showed up, heard all about it. You and Jim, your brother, got up and spoke. And my God, the outpouring of love has been amazing.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I was blessed with so many, all three of my brothers. And unfortunately, we've lost Glenn and Jerry. And, Jerry and I were at the close age together, and he was my mentor. And it just, and you and I talked about it because you've lost a brother. It's been a hard hit. And I really miss him. But I was fortunate too to have him. So, and he was a lot of fun. We both know that.
He's the funniest guy. Maybe one of the funniest people I've ever known in my life. Honestly, he was, and you are too, man. We appreciate it. Are you? We're going to do it on the air. You're going to come back with us during football season,
absolutely. I enjoy it. I enjoy visiting with y'all.
All right, thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Phil Bennett, longtime college football coach with us, and he will be a weekly guest. Kind of knew that, but wanted to make sure we appreciate his time. Next time we get him on, I want